Welcome, welcome, everybody. We have a real special treat today. We are interviewing Alex. I'm going to try Ahimbis. Alex, how do you say your name, sir? Let me just do that.
Imbisibwe.
Abisimwe. Okay, thank you. And he's from the Batwa Indigenous Development Organization, the Batwa of Uganda. Let me show you a little bit here. So Alex is part of BIDO, the Batwa Indigenous Development Organization, started in January 16, 2015. Um, One of the founders is the affected Batwa students is Alex, one of the founders of BIDO, due to experiencing in person the hardships characterizing Batwa's lives. Alex began looking into the issues of the Batwa in relation with the situation of other Ugandan tribes and that of various indigenous groups around the world. Besides school dropouts, such as challenges including illiteracy, food insecurity, extreme poverty, marginalization, lack of human rights safeguards, lack of legal protection, as well as vulnerability to sexual harassment, alcohol and drug abuse, and violence. In this process, Alex realized the need for grassroots initiatives run by the Batwa themselves. Um, is that is that fair? How did you get started in the movement, and what is your role with the Batwa, sir?
I would say the situation of Batwa people, the situation we are living in is not that good as it is described on our website. So we strive to live because we face several kind of injustice here in Uganda. We are not treated equally like any other human being. So the most challenges happened to us in the time period of 1991, where the government decided to evict us from our ancestral lands and tried to make them conservation areas. So the life is actually difficult, but we try to find the ways, possible ways we can go through.
So I think what you're saying, and this is a little bit from what I read. This all started with the Ugandan government wanted to create a gorilla sanctuary, which sounds wonderful to people in the West. Hey, we want to protect the animals. What people in the West don't know is that your entire people were pushed out of the region. That's called ethnic cleansing.
Yes, sure.
So I don't think people know that. Let me show you guys a little bit. This is the area where we're talking about. This is Uganda. Uh, there is a map of the area where the Batwa live. There in the bottom, there's Uganda in the larger map. They're part of a larger homeland region, but we're talking about the Batwa of Uganda. Uganda's Batwa tribe, considered conservation's refugees, see little support. Human rights violations against the Batwa in Uganda. Batwa, the most marginalized people in Africa. And what happened was they wanted to create this gorilla sanctuary. And that sounds very nice. But they moved all the people out. And then they said, you don't have access to the land, and we don't have to compensate you for the land because you are indigenous. And when you go online and you say, I want to go visit the gorillas in Uganda, this is what you see. Hey, Ultimate Safari Gorilla looks very nice. When you go online, you see lots of pictures of, sorry to say it, white people in this gorilla sanctuary. Look, they're all happy, right? That's so happy. But
Yeah.
when we look at the pictures of the actual Batwa people, they are not happy. They are sad. And so, could you talk a little bit about that? So, people have this image that this gorilla sanctuary is great. They don't know your people have been pushed out. And when your people have been pushed out of the region, that was destructive, right? Like your people lived off the land. They knew the land. That's how they ate. That's how they lived. And then the Ugandan government pushed you guys out and said, you get nothing, right? You don't get any compensation. You get nothing. Is that fair, sir?
Yeah, I would say that our survival before 1991 was based on living in forest nature, depending on the forest for survival, for life. So we lived happily in our lands because any culture can, I mean, the possibilities of any culture to survive in the area, I think it is naturally best. Like God creates people in His own nature and put them in the forest, and they are able to live in the area. So we took a long time to survive from there, feeding from vegetables within the forest. Um, Also harvesting like fruits, the honey, the wild meat. By then, the government came up and decided to do conservation without free prior informed consent to us, and also after all of this implementation, there was no formal relocation to new places or giving us new rent or even no compensation. So this is why this one is the photos you are sharing. I've seen my sister there. She's called Alice. I've seen John is like my grandfather, and then there is Sembagari Francis is also my very close relative. They are all from here. So you see, they are not happy. We are actually not happy with the government to treat us like this, and we've tried to advocate. We have tried to speak from, I mean, to the government from different levels, and we even reached to the international level. We even suing the government to the courts of law, but there is nothing that have changed in terms of human rights that is positive to addressing our issues.
That's why we're having these kinds of conversations, is that we're finding that there's people out there who you experienced ethnic cleansing. The entire world should be upset at Uganda and paying attention. The United Nations should already be having hearings on this. So should America, so should the Congress, and there's nothing. You guys are marginalized. Is the I want to show some of the faces, but while I show some of the faces, from what I understand, the living situation of the Batwa is not good. Once you were cut out of the forest, the people are having trouble feeding themselves. Is that correct? Batwa people are
Yeah,
having
very
trouble feeding
true.
themselves?
Very true. The feeding here is very difficult because when you find where we are living, we just live on small plots of land. Sympathizers have said be there. Like some churches have given us a small plots, and some individuals to give us small pieces where to be, and we look after their gardens. And also some NGOs have also come up to give us small pieces where to be. But the survival here is either you go out or work for food, or most of us move around as beggars on the streets. Like those ones who are staying in town, they go on the street to beg for food. And also others others have started joining this kind of tourism where they just go around dancing. It is another form of of begging, like going to dance for tourists, waiting for I mean to give them something to survive on. So actually, the life here goes like that. We own nothing, so we try to find otherwise the ways to survive. So, in fact, I would say it's only this NGO that is that we I just established that is starting to give people the new optional life, the new ideas to get out of this kind of poverty.
So you went around and asked people to pay attention. You tried to sue Uganda in the court of Rome, and it did nothing. And it wasn't until you came up with your own organization and started to work on getting your own message out that you actually got somewhere with getting attention to the plight of your people in Uganda.
Yeah, the organization that sued the government is called the United Organization for Batwa Development in Uganda.
Right.
It is another organization within Kisoro town in Kisoro district. So it sued the government, and the judgment came out and says we won the case. But unfortunately, we just got the information that the government have gone to the courts of appeal. So everything stopped like that, and there was no positive response to us that would give us the alternative right.
Okay. I'm getting that down. So let me just show people a little bit of what we're talking about and how it's your interview, but for me, this is disgusting. So here are Batwa people, and they're dancing and singing, and here are tourists, not Batwa people, and they're enjoying the singing and dancing. These people are poor and they're marginalized. But the way the tours work is they have the Batwa singing and dancing, so you Western tourists think that the Batwa are doing well because some of them sing and dance on these guerrilla tours, but actually they've had their whole life destroyed. They were completely evicted. Here's this man saying that. Here's this woman. We don't have enough money to feed our children now. They now are forced to live in the slums of Kasora, where they used to live in the forest. They now have little access to clean water, healthcare, or sanitation. This is some of the condition the children of the Batwa now live in when they were proud forest people before. They have to make shacks out of garbage. There's another example. Deprived of the forest, Uganda's Batwa adapt. That's just survival. Here's this man. What happened was the government came and chased them all away. Here's this one. We lost our dignity due to the loss of our livelihood. Finally, the non-Batwa, they used to discriminate against the Batwa. They would never sit in the classroom with them. Non-Batwa, even the teachers would discriminate against Batwa students and not provide them a quality education. And then some of the Batwa women have been attacked by non-Batwa people due to stereotypes. If people try to go back into the forest now, their traditional land that they've always known going back into prehistory, they are beaten by the government. And they never gave permission. They were just removed, and they were never compensated. And whenever you get anybody to listen to this, they go, well, yeah, that's bad. Been the tendency in most parks have been to move people. And of course, that's understandable, but I don't think it's desirable. It's understandable that we had to move all these people off of their land that they've only known for thousands of years and reduce them to a situation where they're barely holding on in the streets, but it's not desirable. I find that horrible. This is disgusting. This is ethnic cleansing. The people have been reduced to marginalization. And what we see in the West is happy pictures of people with gorillas. I find that so unfair and hypocritical and a big lie. People think they're doing this great thing, saving the gorillas, and they don't realize they participated in genocide and ethnic cleansing and beating and subjugation of a people. How would you say it?
The way you see everything is how it is around us, and it's actually worsening to the extent that our suffering, our struggles, as you can see, people have gone beyond. If people and the government have gone beyond using them and taking advantage of them to use them as the kind of business. One, by trying to write proposals that they are raising funds to support us get out of this, but they rather use the fundings to their own other activities. Others have created us into dancing groups and they harvest money from tourists for their own business and they keep us like this. And also, we are also almost coming to face this kind of persecution. We human rights defenders that have rise up, these people who are using us to get the reach from our suffering, they are starting to target us, to persecute us. So we are, it's not easy. It's not easy, my friend, for sure. That's what I would say.
I'm so sorry for the situation that you're facing there, sir. And that's why we're trying to hold the summit. That's why we're trying to talk to people. Is we found there's far too many groups around the world that are just completely ignored. A lot of people in the West don't know that you can't go to the United Nations or the international media and say, "Hey, genocide, ethnic cleansing." They don't seem to pay attention, right? Like you guys went the right route. You went through the courts, and it just kind of got shut down. And there has been a few movies, but largely Uganda's able to make it seem like it's not that bad, and maybe the Batwa people are actually happy about this, and that's all a lie. I just it's. How did you get started in the movement, sir? What could we, if you're willing, it may be emotionally just difficult for you, but if you're willing, how did you get started? What were your personal experiences?
My personal experience was like when I reached a level of becoming reasoning like an old person. It's when I completed my advanced level, secondary school. But I was also lucky that recently I completed my university, and I had already tried to look at the situation we are living and started bringing the minds together and to also to bring together the Batwa youth to start the movement. So as of course, as you know, it was difficult to initiate anything through such a situation, but we started getting a few people try to look at what we are doing, and then they give us a hand. But what we are looking, I mean, what we started with was, as you can see, we started an NGO. And what is even sad is that even up to now, the government have refused to give us the NGO status. They cannot explain the reason why they cannot give it out. But we just got incorporated as a company limited by guarantee. So that's how we are operating at the moment. But however, I don't know, maybe you can go, if you could manage to go to our website at home, and
Yeah.
you look at a little bit of at our vision. It looks at all areas. It looks at we are targeting to make sure that we advocate for our rights. We also look at look at our livelihood. We want to at the moment, we want to find the way our Batwa members can survive, can get optional ways to get food, and also as we advocate for our rights. But also we are too much partly looking at also joining political representation. And if I could say, Yeah, this is it. So we are looking at a society where we are respected like any other human being, enjoying equal rights like any other person. And also celebrating our cultural heritage, and with and determining our own path, determining our own way, and then live healthy. So that's our vision, but it contains a lot of things we are looking and at. And as I was talking about the way we are looking, I mean the idea about political representation, because we've been excluded from being part of leadership, from the I would say the executive, the executive, the legislature, and the parliamentarians. They have excluded us. Even the local leaders from the districts, they have excluded us completely. And even the up to the LCs, they have not allowed us to be part of them. And when we ask them, they keep complaining, you are not educated, you are not educated. Even when we are educated more than some of the leaders that are in the government. So we realized this is we've reached to understand that this is very intentional. It looks like they have created structures of people who should lead and who should be not be part of the leadership. And I actually realized this when we were struggling, when people, when people reached to a level of excluding us or removing us from church, not wanting us to be part of their society or church community as leaders. So, and they openly told us that we from the Batwa people, we don't deserve to lead others. So we realized that if the rest of the society around us is not interested to be to allow us to be part of their leadership, so we are trying to find a way that we can find our own alternative, our own leadership in our own way. So I would say for sure we've started the movement. It is still very young, but we passed it through an NGO as the way of building our capacity, but we are looking at strengthening our leadership goals. And also we will actually in the near future we will be coming up with the campaigns for being independent, as since the rest of the society have excluded us, we have no option. We have to be independent.
There were a group of people called the Kurds of Iraq. You ever heard of the country of Iraq? Saddam Hussein, he was a bad dictator. And then there was an ethnic group called the Kurds in the north. By the way, this is their website, the Batwa Indigenous Development Organization. You can go to batwas-bido.org. That's BATWAZ-BIDO.org. That's BATWAZ-BIDO.org. And there was a country called Iraq. There was an ethnic group in the north of Iraq called the Kurds. The country of Iraq kept attacking the Kurdish people. And so the United Nations said, you don't have a right to those people anymore, and they can be independent if they want. So when I hear you talking about how there's discrimination, you're not allowed to be in the government, which is illegal. I doubt people know that. That's absolutely undemocratic. Uganda's technically listed as a democracy. I know it's not the greatest one, but it's listed as one. You can't do that in a democracy. The discrimination, and also just the fact that the land was taken away and the Batwa people got nothing. Let me show you a little bit more about what the Batwa are going through. There's the website batwaz-bido.org. Batwa, the most marginalized community there. They were nomadic people who never settled in one location. The Batwa had no claim to the land, therefore the Uganda government had no legal obligation to compensate them with new land or money. That's horrible. They also suffer from discrimination, and this leads to women being victimized. 57% of Batwa women have been victims of sexual abuse. These women who become infected with HIV have limited access to health care because they don't have money or face discrimination of hospital staff and other patients. Even if the Batwa children go to school with other children, they discriminate against them and they perform very poorly. There are very few that succeed in finishing school because they're treated not well in the schools and they're not given access to health care. Government aid to the Batwa does not appear to be forthcoming. A organization demanded that the Batwa be compensated for the land taken by Uganda, but the Patrick Mutabwire, acting permanent secretary at the Ministry of Local Government in Kampala, denied there was any problem at all. So there's no problem at all. That's what the government official said. I've not received any complaints from any of the Batwa people in the last 12 years that anything wrong is happening. Clearly that's a lie, or he's not paying attention, or he's not listening to the complaints. So you can see the government now, based on what Alec is saying, is completely in on discriminating against these people at a high level. A tribe on the edge of disappearing. They don't need charity and donations. They need to be protected. Constant discrimination. Zero opportunities. Visiting the Batwa in Uganda. You're supposed to go to the forest where the Batwa supposedly live. They will show you how they survived in the dense Ugandan forest for centuries. But this is all fake. It's all set up to convince the tourists that nothing's going wrong here when it is very wrong. After their expulsion, public authority gave some Batwa families farmland. That's not true. Unfortunately, they didn't know how to cultivate, nor were taught how. Most of them were given land that was poorly sold, and the money received was not well invested. Most Batwa face discrimination and can only take degrading jobs. Creating a whole Batwa community outside the national parks was also out of the question. So the government wouldn't resettle the Batwa people. It wouldn't compensate them for the land. It wouldn't give them new land. It literally just pushed them to the edge of society and said, hey, I know you've never lived like this for thousands of years, but deal with it and you get nothing. That's what happened. Here's the African Human Rights Journal, the plight of the Batwa people, how they've basically been reduced to a very difficult situation because the land was taken away and the Ugandan government said legally you get nothing at all. Now they had hoped that they could get the Ugandan court to recognize that indigenous people have a right to land, even if they were nomadic, but that didn't happen. So currently legally, they're reduced to being conservation refugees, as Alex was pointing out in 1991, following conservation projects by the Ugandan government and Western international agencies. Western international agencies worked with the Ugandan government to make this happen. That's right. People in the West worked with the Ugandan government to commit ethnic cleansing and genocide. This was done without the free, prior, informed consent of the Batwa people, or any public hearing for the Batwa people, or any compensation for the Batwa people. This ancestral forest-dwelling people who lived in harmony now found themselves in a profound different way of life. They're dispossessed, marginalized. For many, if not all indigenous people, land means home, the source of physical and spiritual subsistence, and they're cut off from that. So it's not just that they have lack of access to food, shelter, clothing, healthcare. They have lack of access to their cultural land. This is what the indigenous here in America complain about. You took them from their land, you put them on land that's not theirs, and it isn't very productive. And not only does it make it hard to survive, it destroys their culture. which ruins a human person's spirit. They have trouble getting access to clean and safe water. The discrimination extends to healthcare workers who often ignore or neglect Batwa patients looking for care. So they won't even be helped in the hospitals because of discrimination. Here's a disproportionate human rights violation against Batwa women. Multiple forms of discrimination against the Batwa women. They violate their basic human rights and fundamental freedoms, including the right to take part in political and public life, the right to be represented, the right to education, the right to employment, the right to health. All that's violated. So, high rates of violence against women from Africa's indigenous Batwa community. 100% of the women interviewed said they experienced violence. For the majority of the violence was ongoing. Hidden lives of the Batwa women. And many hospitals will not attend to Batwa women because they say they smell, and so they get no medical coverage. Alex, am I lying? Is any of this wrong? Is this what's going on? You're there, sir. Is it really this bad?
That's how the situation is. It's actually some other people from America, from Europe have been coming and are experiencing this. Actually, some come as volunteers, and they also see the situation with their naked eyes, not only looking at what is on the website. They come and see, and some also go and write something. And actually, even this website of ours, is also managed by one of our friend from Germany. So she's our volunteer working on it. She saw the situation herself, and what you try to present is actually what it is here. Yeah, so all we need to do is to look at how we can, but even what makes it a little bit complicated with the revolution to get out of this situation is that our members have become very, very, they have lost hope. So they have lost hope to the extent that they don't reason to join anything to help them get out of such a situation. That is what makes our struggle very difficult. But we are trying. We are trying our level best. Every year, every day, things are changing slowly by slowly to sensitize our communities, because our community members need too much sensitization and actions, because most of them have gone to too much drug abuse. Others have gone to alcoholism, being too much addicted. But it is because we have been treated unfairly for so long, and we lost hope in life. So yeah, so everything that is read on those websites, they are very true. Our women go to the hospital, of course, because they are, I don't know, they are discriminated, and also because the government is too weak even to provide the medical facilities. The women go there, and even any sick battle go there. They don't find help. They don't find medicine, and they are sometimes sent to purchase the medicine in the nearby pharmacies, and yet there is no access to financial resources to help them buy such a facilities from the hospital. So it's very difficult, my friend. Otherwise, all we need to do, I was actually even lucky that you happened to get to know about us, because you are actually the first person to organize such an event where we can try to discuss with the world about this situation. We have been kept in the dark area, just on that. I mean, people just write on internet, but this is more tangible, more visionable, because people can see and can understand more about the situation we are passing through.
I really appreciate you saying that. That's why we're doing this. We talked to people in the Khalistan movement of India. We talked to some people in Biafra, and we've talked to you, the Batwa. We've also talked to Western Togoland. We talked to Nagaland in India. There seems to be these people who these governments have said, it's okay for us to pick on them. We're the national government. We don't like this little ethnic group for whatever reason. And we don't have to behave democratically, even though we call ourselves a democracy. And even though the West views us as democracy, we can marginalize them, discriminate against them, kill them, intimidate them, cut off access, not compensate them, not treat them fairly in the courts. You're one of a larger group, and I really appreciate you saying, because I've been trying to get people in the West to recognize this, and they have trouble appreciating what you just said. First person to try to organize this event where we can discuss the system. There are so many people out there who nobody's trying to listen, nobody's listening to it, and you guys are struggling to get your cause out. The Batwa people experienced ethnic cleansing. That's horrible. That should be world news, and it's not. It should be
actually, what is happening is that the government uses different platforms, different organs, like they use the churches, they have used schools, and also they have also used these tourism activities. They are working very hard to assimilate us, to make sure that we change, we forget about our old life, and yet they have not given us the optional way, the optional life. So we are just in between there. So they are assimilating us to nowhere.
That's brilliant. Assimilating us to nowhere. Assimilating us to nowhere. You must forget your culture. You must forget your ways. You must forget the fact that you were moved off your land. You must forget the fact that you're marginalized. But as the government of Uganda, we're not actually going to help you do anything to get integrated. We just expect you to forget and move on and not be upset about what we did to you. But we're going to provide no assistance to you as your government. Is that a fair summary?
And no assistance.
No assistance.
The government, as we mentioned, they didn't give us the relocation, no compensation, and also they bring the government programs like the where something like reconciliation, parish development model, in the other NADs, different programs come around, but they are all taken by the majority. We have the majority around us, like Bachiga people, and those who have leaders in the government. They are the ones who are supported from the government programs. But for us, who are the minorities, who are just few, as we are only 6,000 up to 47 million people. We are only 6,000. So nothing that comes and reaches to us, because they are taken by the majority, and the people who have their leaders who can take their who can make sure that their people benefit from the government. But for us, we don't see any help. We don't see any help from the government. In fact, there is a time where I was in a meeting with some of the government leaders, and when we tried to mention that we are not getting any help from the government. So they just came up and said, but you have benefited. We have registered your organization. That is the help we can give. Yeah. So you find that those small, minor complaints, they bring them forward as if they are they are support to, or they are support to our community. But we know the government raise a huge money, and even they reach to the make sure that they even tax us from the ways they use to tax. We end up paying tax as we are marginalized to this extent, but we also contribute to tax, and the tax we don't benefit from. So for sure, we don't get any support from the government. And if we were supported, the government should have considered us and included us in leadership, such as that we can keep sharing the knowledge we have. We keep sharing the options we would think of that can help the government to reach out to our communities. But they have kept us aside. So they don't mind about supporting us or bringing us out of poverty. Me, I sometimes think that they think they don't have any reason to support us. Maybe because maybe they think we don't contribute anything much to the government. And in fact, our community members, they are also too ignorant. I see them going to vote. Also, me, I don't vote. They go to vote, forgetting that they are suffering in the hands of the government. So me, I don't vote because I understand that I have no reason to be voting any leader.
It is illegal to not allow a group to be actively participating in the government. That's United Nations law and international law. So the way they did it was a lot of countries were colonized, and then they put all these ethnic groups in one country. But the way the UN worked is said, okay, we know it's not going to be perfect, but you have to let everybody have meaningful participation in the government. You cannot exclude any group from, quotes, meaningful participation in the government due to religion, ethnic group, whatever. So they don't have to make it perfect for the Batwa people. The Uganda government doesn't have to make it perfect, but they can't deny access to being part of the government. They can't deny healthcare facilities. They can't deny hearings in the court. That's all illegal. All of that's illegal. Just patently straight up illegal. There's no debate about that at all. The only question is people don't know what's happening. You're a relatively small group, but if you look at the population of Europe in World War II, 6 million Jews out of a couple 100 million people were small, but that didn't matter. The genocide against the Jews in World War II was horrible and wrong, and everybody paid attention, even though it was only 6 million of a couple 100 million. And to back up what you're saying, hopelessness and excessive drinking amongst Aboriginal adolescents. Canadian Indigenous show high rates of drinking and hopelessness because they were removed from their land and had their culture destroyed. Not alone. Many American Indigenous deal with hopelessness on reservations because of a history of displacement, forced assimilation, poverty, and neglect, including historical trauma, limited resources, trauma exposure, and lack of hope for the future. So, Alex, when you're telling me that a lot of the people, why do we vote, and they're experiencing drinking and drugs and stuff, welcome to the club. Here you go. Canada ruined the Indigenous, took their land, forced them into camps, tried to wipe out their culture, hopelessness and drinking. America removed the Indigenous from their land, didn't compensate them, tried to wipe them out, ignored them, disenfranchised their culture, created them as second-class citizens, hopelessness and drinking. Does that surprise you to see that pattern repeated around the world?
Yeah, of course, I sometimes read about those Native Americans. I read about those Aboriginal people, but I've not realized that they are also going through the same situation of getting to that extent of losing hope. But it seems this this was this is actually like a planned move. It seems to be an international structural plan to 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 take us. I mean, to take the indigenous people into. I mean, into such a kind of life. That's what I would think of if people from America could have gone through such a life. Then sometimes it, I don't know, but it's very sad for sure. But I think the world should make some adjustments, make some changes to make sure that our issues are also addressed, because we are also human beings, to be honest. We are not animals, and actually we are not bad people. We are human being like anyone. But also I thought it's because of competition for rich, for wealth, that is causing all this. Yeah, me, that's what I think. Competition for wealth. Some people want to strive to be rich, and they don't want to care about what happens to indigenous people. To Because, like, I would say also, as I talk now, we are in struggles with the World Bank. The World Bank has been funding some projects to give us alternative life, but since all the project that is being done here, the money is being grabbed by rich people, and they I don't know why they use it to buy good cars, and buy good cars for their companies, and then we keep like this, and then we are struggling. Imagine struggling with the World Bank, complaining why are they keeping injecting money that doesn't reach us, that doesn't support us. So I think the world, I mean, they have been trying to deny funding our eviction, but we realized the World Bank itself funded the eviction of our people from our ancestral lands. I would say it is fine to do conservation. Yes, I also agree in conservation, because we are also we are created with natural conservation knowledge. So we are actually natural conservationists, because we even fought some wars, civil wars, with some people around us. The majority people trying to claim the forest, we fought them to stop them from destroying all of the forest. But then it's very unjust to at the end of it fund, deploy the military, deploy the rangers, deploy many people to restrict us from the lands we had conserved for all of this time. I heard them talk about the conservation policies. Some people are still living in the forests. If you go to other parts of the world, you check on Central African Republic, some Batwa are still in the forest. Even in the nearby Congo, the Batwa are still using forest resources, and they are not destroying it. They are actually the people who have participated in conserving them naturally, but then deploying people to threaten us, to kill us. I think it is not good. I wish the world would hear this and come to us. Me, I've ever said it's very important to go on table and talk and dialogue and share the knowledge how best we can we can conserve humanity and also conserve animals and plants. It's very possible. We agree on how best we can do than putting force to the force they use to make sure that they do wrong things and they keep hiding. I mean, thinking that they are doing something good and they have hidden it, all this to the world, which is very wrong. I agree in dialogues, but sometimes some people doesn't want this because they are majority, they are strong, they are big companies, they are the governments, so they don't care. They don't want even, I mean, to listen to the idea or the knowledge we would share. And this sometimes I think that this is at the end of it going to create a bad future for sure. Yet the future should have been famous. And actually, this is the role for UN. This is the role that should
Right.
have been played by UN. It should have reached down to make sure there are these kind of dialogues to build up the knowledge for the better future. But because it is, I think it is becoming too reluctant, and I think maybe it is influenced by those companies and those big governments, and then we things not go well.
Thank you for saying that. Because we've been telling people this form's necessary. There's a lot of groups around the world who aren't being paid attention to, and the UN's not doing their job, and the international media is not doing their job. And what we find is people in the West have trouble believing that. So when I can show this video and I can say, no, there are actually people who are living in this situation, who are having a tough time, and they're saying the UN is not helping, and they're not getting attention, and they're not being focused on, and it's just not getting done. That really helps us get the message out so we can make the forum bigger and bring more attention to this cause and your cause. You know, conservation is great, but the Uganda government should have gone to the Batwa people and had a vote, at least a vote for them if they wanted to be part of this. Like you said, they could have hired the Batwa people to be the guerrilla rangers. Like, why can't the Batwa people be employed to manage this protected forest? They're not. They don't get the jobs. The Batwa also could have, if you really wanted to move them out, pay them, get them homes, provide education, put in jobs. The Ugandan government did none of that. Didn't ask them, didn't
Nothing.
compensate them, didn't employ them. Yeah. So there were ways this could have been handled much differently. Protecting the guerrillas is important. I think we all agree. But what we're also saying is, boy, they could have handled this very differently, and they didn't. This could have been done differently. You know, the Batwa could be people who manage the forest for the Uganda government and are paid and are given education and are included in the local governance structure and have access to healthcare because now they have good jobs from working managing this forest, but none of that happened. You guys are struggling to get attention that you've suffered ethnic cleansing. I mean, that's the world will pay attention to ethnic cleansing when it happens in other places, but then there's examples like this where there's no attention from the world, and it just shocks the hell out of me. So, last comments, Alex. Is there anything you want the public to know? Is there things I haven't asked you that we should cover?
Yeah, I would say that what the public, of course, should know that we are there trying to find the alternative ways of life, and we are much more working on if you go to our projects, maybe a little bit, and they try to see nourishing the community through agriculture. Yeah, on our projects, there you can just go, a little bit, and open there. So we are trying to use the small pieces we have at the moment to produce what we can survive on, and possibly if anyone would be willing to be part of us, part of that, as a way of how we can be, our communities can access food. Yeah, they will be welcome. And also for food security, yeah, you can open on food security a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, let me pull it up. Give me 1 second, Alex. I'll pull this up. One second. This is on the projects page. Food security. So we were here on this page, projects, and then we clicked food security for everybody following along.
Yeah.
At this website,
Yeah. So we are working on a project to we've not yet updated as much as what we have done with one of our community, but we are working very hard on fighting food insecurity to make sure that at least some Batwa can have access to food, can have access to milk, can have access to vegetables. So we are working hard, and we've started with one of our communities. So yeah, that's it. So also we will be working on education next year. Yeah, that's it. And others about to. I think I was also happy to get the invitation to join the meeting that will be there in February.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think there we will meet in person possibly, and we discuss more. Others we've not discussed on here. We will discuss more and possibly try. To share our vision or the plans that we have beyond what we've talked about. We share what we hope to do in the near future, what we are looking at to be independent, because we are reaching to have no option, because since 1991 we have been complaining, the government is not listening to us, but it is too dictatorial to the extent that if we like come up with any option of trying to be independent, so they can they can do bad things to us, like they have done it in one of a community in Kasese. They killed a lot of people there because that community was working to be independent through their own leader. So they took the military and shooted all the people down, and now later they started trying to console on them. So, but we are trying to structure up. So once we meet, we will try to discuss much more about that area, and then possibly we will also discuss and see how you support movements, or how we can get in touch with other people that are in the same struggle. Like I was reading on, I had this video from South Africa, that man is also trying to do something great. He's in a good movement. Yeah, and another one he shared with me. I saw all of the videos, so we will
Oh,
try to
awesome.
share and see how we can get in touch, and then support each other to move forward for the best.
Uh, that is awesome. Thank you for the commercial. You really promoted the summit. We really appreciate that. Just for everybody following along, here's the video. Anyways, that's why we're holding the summit. Do you have any Batwa representatives who live in America?
No, we don't have any battle in America,
Okay,
but I think there is one that has been staying in Canada.
perfect.
I'm not sure. He might have gone back. He was from Burundi, but he might have gone back to Burundi. I don't know if he's still in Canada at the moment. So we don't have any battle who is in America at the moment.
I'll follow up on email with you about travel details to get someone from the Batwa out here. We definitely want you guys to be here, and I'll email you some more information
Okay.
about that. We have the itinerary out, but I'll email you today about that, sir, and I'll email you a copy of the video.
Okay.
And we'll leave it there. Is there anything else you wanted to say, or anything else we didn't cover that we should cover?
I think we have covered much tonight in almost 1 hour. Yeah, so possibly we will share more next time as we keep on arranging for these.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to email you today. Give me a little bit of time. Thank you for doing this. I know it's late for you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being here. I'll email you information on the summit, and I'll email you a copy of the video. For everybody at home, batwas-bido.org. These people need attention. We'll leave it there. All right, that's the end of the show. I'll email you soon,
It's
sir.
been my pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
It's been my pleasure. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for organizing this, and thank you for inviting me for this conversation. I'm very happy for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'll email you soon. That'll
Okay,
be it.
thank you. Nice time.
Thank you.